Hello there, my name is Justin, perhaps slightly better known as the Biscuit Merchant, and I was very bored today, and I wanted to add some more video-style content to my channel, so I'm going to talk about my favorite Dream Theater albums. My history with Dream Theater is very long indeed. I've been listening to them since 2008. They had just released Systematic Chaos in 2007. That was the newest album when I became a fan, and they've released all of these since then. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to go through and put them in tier lists like all the kids are doing these days. So let's get started. We're going to go in album release order here. At least that's how I organized my thoughts anyway. So we're going to start off with their first album, When Dream and Day Unite. This one is going in D tier. The problem with When Dream and Day Unite is Charlie Dominici. The vocals on this album are just not there. It's the most obvious issue. Otherwise, it's pretty good. I mean, I really like the music on that album. I mean, Yitsay Jam, the instrumental, is really good, and you can kind of see the heights to which they would ascend later on. I think Afterlife and A Fortune in Lies are probably my favorite songs overall. The vocal melodies are all very good. It's just the vocal tone just doesn't fit the style of Dream Theater's music, and I think maybe if James LaBrie was singing on that album, maybe we would feel differently about it. Or maybe because we have James LaBrie on all these other Dream Theater albums, maybe this one just seems all that more jarring, right? I don't know. But point is, it's in the D tier. Next one, we're going to go on to Images and Words. This is not going to surprise anybody. This album just had its 30th anniversary about a week ago, and I mean, aside from the really dated production that very much sounds like a product of the late 80s, Images and Words is awesome. It is so good. Dream Theater has this ability to create an album of songs where every song feels like it could have been written by a different band. And Images and Words does that so well. I mean, if you look at a song like Another Day, this ballad with like this really heartfelt saxophone solo, and then you go on to something like Under a Glass Moon, which has all of these like really fast start-stop thrash riffs and like just unbelievable shredding guitar solos. It's hard to believe. Like, if the production wasn't the same and the vocals weren't the same and like the guitar playing style, at least in the solo, is relatively similar, I feel like you could easily figure that it's like, oh, this is a completely different band. It's really cool. And you could just argue that every song on this album is the best song on the album, and that is a pretty strong criteria to land it in the S tier, I believe. Okay, next one, Awake. I'm going to put Awake in the A tier, and that could maybe be controversial. I don't know. I feel like people really like this album. People that are really into the band really like this album. People that aren't into the band, I've tried to show Awake to my girlfriend and a bunch of other people that I know, and they don't get it. I don't know what it is. James LaBrie's vocal on Awake is definitely very gritty and raspy. It's a different style even for him, and it's no surprise that he blew out his voice on the upcoming tour. I know they say it was because of food poisoning, and I believe that may have happened, but I think there were other things at play. For those of you that don't know, James LaBrie allegedly ruptured his vocal cords, I think it was. I don't remember the exact terminology of what happened, but he got food poisoning, he was vomiting, and apparently his vocal cords got really messed up during all of that. And that's the reason that they've said that he doesn't really sing all that high anymore on their newer stuff. But if you listen to live video from that time period, he is just like he's just ripping his throat apart, and you can hear it in every show, and it's like, oh man, any vocal teacher would just be like, nope, don't do that. It's bad for you. So I don't know what to believe, honestly. I believe that the food poisoning thing may have happened and it may have caused some damage, but I think the damage was also already being done. Who knows? I would love to get some more clarity on that, but it's a pretty popular conspiracy theory these days to think that didn't actually happen. Anyway, Awake, really cool album. I love it. The 7-string songs like The Mirror and Lie are just beyond heavy. And the epic that was meant to close the album before Space Divest came in, Scarred. That song is unbelievable. It's got really cool riffs. It's got a great solo, really cool like guitar keyboard unison thing. Very cool song. The only thing about Awake that I don't really like is that it's got a lot of ballads on it. And I mean by a lot, I mean 3. I think The Silent Man is fine. I don't think it causes any problems. It's short enough to be unobtrusive. I really don't care for Lifting Shadows Off a Dream. I know. It's a John Mayung lyric song, and those are automatically good. I get it. It's not for me, though. It's not my favorite. And Space Divest it's a good song, I think, but it feels drastically out of place on an album by Dream Theater. I will say, though, I feel like it actually works as a closer to this album specifically. Like, Awake has this kind of dark, mysterious vibe throughout, and Space Divest does a good job of kind of bringing that home, but I don't think it would work anywhere else. All right, Falling Into Infinity. No, it's bad. It's really bad. The thing is, I feel like whenever we say albums are bad, we have this tendency to like blame the band and be like, they made a bad thing. They did this. It's their fault. It's really not even their fault, man. The problem with Falling Into Infinity is they got all of these outside producers. They've got Storm Thurgeson, a Pink Floyd alumnus, doing the artwork. They've got Desmond Child writing songs with them. And you get these really weird, boring pop songs like You Not Me. No. Take Away My Pain feels like a really, really boring U2 ballad. Anna Lee, it's another kind of sequel to a Silent Man sort of idea. Again, it's just like acoustic. There's no aggression. Like, there's moments on Falling Into Infinity that are really good. Like, Peruvian Skies, I think, is a great song. Burning My Soul's pretty good, too. But then you have things like Hollow Years, Take Away My Pain, like I said, Anna Lee, stuff like that. It doesn't fit Dream Theater, to me, personally. I don't like it. There's a contingency of the fan base that would probably put Falling Into Infinity more like in the BC, because, like, they will say, hey, the good songs are really good, and if you take You Not Me and Take Away My Pain off this album, it becomes a C or a B. I don't know if I agree with that, because even the good songs I don't think are hitting the inspirational heights that the good songs on either of these hit, or any of these, honestly. It was a time of transition in Dream Theater land, and I don't think this album came out like they wanted to. Mike Portnoy has gone on record and said he almost quit the band during these sessions because of how poorly it was reflecting their vision for what they wanted their album to be. So, F. All right, back in the S. I don't need to waste too much time on this. If you don't know how good this album is, Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory, oh my lord. It's so good. They stopped listening to outside producers, and they just went in and they made exactly the album they wanted to make, and what do you know? It's good. Wow. Even the ballads on Scenes from a Memory are way better than the ballads on Falling Into Infinity or Awake, and go figure, I like it more, right? Spirit Carries On could be considered a ballad. Through Her Eyes is a decent song. It's probably the worst song on the album, but it's still decent. Everything is clicking here. It's better in every single way, and you've got Jordan Rudess finally in the fold as well, providing some really, really, really inspired keyboard work. Love it. Okay, we're going to spend a little bit more time on 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence is going to be in the S tier. Ooh, I know we're... the S tier is getting a little bit crowded, but that's what happens, man. That's what happens when you have a band that's this good. I love 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. It might be my favorite album ever in some ways. The idea is it is very experimental. It's also very long, but you're experimenting in every direction that Dream Theater has gone in. You've got The Glass Prison, which is heavier than anything that they've ever done. The Great Debate as well kind of falls into that. And then you've got Blind Faith, which is experimenting in this completely different direction. It's very 70s prog without like the organ. If you replaced a Yes song with just piano instead of organ, I feel like it comes out like Blind Faith. It's a little heavier maybe, but still. Really cool song. Misunderstood is the best ballad they've done so far. It's got really cool melodies. Just a really good tune. Disappear is doing that Silent Man, Anna Lee, Through Her Eyes thing a lot better, I think. It's a very dark song, one of the only 5 songs that have ever made me cry. It's intense. And you've got the second disc, which has basically another round of 40 minutes of music that is pretty much a sequel to Scenes from a Memory in terms of its compositional style. You've got all of the orchestral patches and things on the keyboard, but I mean, oh man, it's just 6 Degrees is 90 to 100 minutes of absolute heaven. It's so good. I love it. It's my favorite. Okay, let's keep going. Train of Thought is going to go into the B tier. It's so close. I want to put it in A, but I'm not going to. Train of Thought is a really cool record. I love the atmosphere. You could argue that it's probably the most consistent Dream Theater album in terms of like its tone. Like Images and Words is bouncing all over the place. Awake is bouncing all over the place. Scenes from a Memory still has ballads and things here and there. 6 Degrees is a different band on every song. Train of Thought has the heaviness in spades. It's a very loud, boisterous beast of a record. And it never really lets up. It lets up a little bit on Vacant, but even then, like, Vacant is just an intro piece for Stream of Consciousness, which you could argue is just an intro piece for In the Name of God. Who knows? The only things that I don't really like about it, I don't love Honor Thy Father as a song, and it seems like there's a lot of excess instrumental stuff, which I like. I like all of that stuff a lot, but it's bordering on the edge of being a little bit too self-indulgent, I think. So I would have preferred them to maybe put another song in, like cut 5 minutes off of Endless Sacrifice and 3 minutes off of Honor Thy Father and make another 8-minute song that has a similar vibe to like As I Am. Maybe in the middle, like as the 5th song, and then you've got Vacant, Stream of Consciousness, In the Name of God. I feel like that would have made for an easier listen, because I find myself getting bogged down on Endless Sacrifice and Honor Thy Father. I just think they're a little bit too long. But there's really good stuff here. Okay, Octavarium, number 8. Octavarium. Octavarium's going C. The problem with Octavarium is I remember liking it so much more than I do now. And I think the reason I liked it was because the bookends of this album are so good. Root of All Evil is an incredible opener, and Octavarium is one of my favorite songs that they've ever done. Unfortunately, everything else in between it is not very good. I mean, there's certainly moments, like I don't think The Answer Lies Within, These Walls, or Panic Attack are bad songs per se. Even I Walk Beside You and Never Enough aren't bad. None of them are bad. They're just not as good as anything in the past 3 albums or so. It doesn't hold up to anything on Train of Thought. It doesn't hold up to anything on 6 Degrees, and it definitely doesn't hold up to anything on Scenes from a Memory. It just sounds like a less inspired band. They're starting to fall back a little bit. Like, I don't know what to do. It's still fine. Like, I mean, a bad Dream Theater album is still better than a lot of other bad albums by worse bands. And honestly, I mean, if Octavarium and Root of All Evil aren't here, it's probably D, honestly. That's how uninspired I feel like the midsection is. Again, they're good songs, but it's not these. Absolutely not. Okay, Systematic Chaos is going to go in the D as well. Again, like talking about that lack of inspiration on Octavarium, like I said, if Octavarium doesn't have Root of All Evil and it doesn't have Octavarium, the title track, it's probably down in D. Oops. Systematic Chaos doesn't have it. It doesn't have that really big, good song. Like, In the Presence of Enemies is fine, but it's not as good as Octavarium. And the opening track doesn't really exist because In the Presence of Enemies was split in two, and it was put at the beginning. The first 10 minutes or so of the song opens the album, and that's the best part of the album. Everything else after it is not nearly as good. It's not even close. I mean, I like The Dark Eternal Night because I like cheesy metal and 7-string riffs are life, but other than that, I don't know what people are still coming back to with this record. I know there's some people out there that would put this a lot higher, and I really don't understand why. There's so much better out there. And, you know, you talk about creative stagnation and the membership change that's about to happen coming up here. And I think albums like this are kind of a foreshadowing of like, something's not going right here. Something needs to change. Okay, next one. Black Clouds and Silver Linings. It starts with a B, so I'm going to put it in the B tier. Why not? That's not why. I like Black Clouds a lot. That was the first new album that came out when I was a fan. And, again, awesome parts. I think A Nightmare to Remember, Count of Tuscany, Shattered Fortress, and A Rite of Passage are all really, really, really good songs. Rite of Passage in particular, I think that's one of my favorite, like, heavy singles that they've done. It's a really heavy, straightforward song. And it works really well. It's got a really catchy chorus. It's got awesome riffs. The bridge, the solo section is incredible. I think it's awesome. And, you know, you've got these big, long songs that are kind of surrounding it that bring a lot of the heaviness of Train of Thought without the boring blandness of Octavarium and Systematic Chaos, you know? It's a really cool record. It's held down by the fact that Wither is just kind of a boring song, and I find myself wishing that it was maybe a little bit shorter. Like, I think The Count of Tuscany is a really cool song, I just don't really like the ending. It starts off really strong, and then they go into this 4 or 5 minute, like, ambient bit, which they kept doing with their epic songs as we go on here. You're going to notice on a couple of these albums there's going to be these longer songs that just have this midsection of nothingness. It's very subdued, very quiet instrumentation. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but they never did that before. Like 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, the song doesn't have a 5-minute break. Change of Seasons doesn't have a bunch of ambient noise for 3 minutes of it, and I don't know why they kept doing that. I feel like maybe they just wanted it to be 20 minutes. Like, they just wanted the song to be 20 minutes, so they tried to add in as much slow-paced stuff as they could just to drag out the runtime, which I don't like. We don't need to do that. Anyway, good record. Could have been better. And, again, like, I feel like the creative stagnation I talked about with Octavarium and Systematic Chaos, I think it's not really here. It's not as strong on this one. I feel like they're a lot stronger of a band here, but Mike Portnoy left anyway. And with his creative voice out of the mix, there's a very strong shift in the style of music going forward. And I feel like they got more focused. I feel like they wanted to sort of reinvent themselves and decide, hey, this is what the Dream Theater sound is now. And I think A Dramatic Turn of Events, which is going to go up in the A tier, is sort of the mission statement of that ideology, because there's 5 songs on this album that all sound very similar. They're a little bit different here and there in subtle ways, but On the Backs of Angels, Lost Not Forgotten, Bridges in the Sky, Outcry, and Breaking All Illusions are arguably the same song, really. There are slight differences, but they're around 10 minutes long. Verse, chorus, crazy long instrumental thing, verse, chorus, out. That is the structure of these songs. They are awesome. They are very good songs. I love them. Probably the only thing keeping this from the S is the fact that it does come out as a little bit formulaic, and also This Is the Life is kind of boring. It's a fine song, but, you know, again with the freaking ballads, you know, This Is the Life, Far From Heaven, Beneath the Surface, they're all fine, but I don't know. I think the better statements off of this album are in those longer songs. Still really good. I love A Dramatic Turn of Events, and man, when that came out, I was like, my favorite band is back. They're so good again. I love it. Okay. This one, the self-titled, Are you as good as Black Clouds and Silver Linings, or are you as good as Octavarium? You're better than Octavarium. Yeah, B tier for sure. The self-titled album has, again, some really cool ideas and some really good songs. I mean, I think Surrender to Reason is extremely underrated when it comes to those, like, I don't want to call them B-grade songs, but it's not The Enemy Inside. It wasn't a single and it wasn't an epic, you know what I'm saying? Surrender to Reason is a little bit of a different beast. It has a really cool vibe. I know everybody's going to say it's a Rush ripoff, and that's fine. Dream Theater's done a lot of Rush ripoffs in their life, but I think this one is executed very, very well. I love the guitar melody after the chorus. I think it's incredibly strong. And the Restless Angels chorus at the end does a really good job of kind of bringing it all home. I think it's great. And then Along for the Ride just kills it. I don't like Along for the Ride. It's fine. But again, it's just this standard boring ballad idea before the epic, right? And the epic on the self-titled just isn't that good. I mean, it's fine, but you can tell it's Dream Theater trying to create an epic song. And I just don't know if a lot of the ideas were meant to be heard together. There's a lot of unnecessary chugitude in the first half of that song. And then again, we've got this really long ambient instrumental break, this time with a string quartet. For what? It's fine. I don't hate Illumination Theory. It's just not my favorite. Okay. Astonishing. I don't like this. It's too long. I will say, when I did my re-listens specifically for this project, I split my listen in two. I listened to disc 1 one day, and then I listened to disc 2 another day. And I found that disc 2 is a lot better. And 2, the album is so long that if you're listening to both discs in order, by the time you get to disc 2, I feel like you're going to be in a coma. It's just too long. I thought Moment of Betrayal was a really, really cool song. And the few that come after it are pretty strong as well. And I also really liked the ending, the Astonishing, the title track. Our New World is also good. The better songs are on the second disc. The first disc is a lot of setup and things. There's cool themes and there's cool moments to be had, but God, there's just way too much of it. Also, the story is not right. I don't like it. It feels like a cross between 2112 and Game of Thrones, and we didn't need that. It's okay. It's fine. I don't hate the Astonishing. I don't hate it any more than Falling Into Infinity. It's just different because, like we talked about, Falling Into Infinity wasn't really their fault. I don't think anybody was in their ear saying, hey, make a 2-hour Aryan album and call it Dream Theater. So I have to fault them a little bit for that. Okay, 2 more. Distance Over Time is going C. Don't put yourself in D. You're a little better than that. Distance Over Time is another interesting one. I think the singles are really good. Untethered Angel and Fall Into the Light in particular, I really, really like. Barstool Warrior, except for the name and the lyrics, I think the music in that song is really good. And Signal to Noise and At Wit's End, I think, are also both very good, but I'm a little tired by the time they come on. Like, I'm just kind of stagnated. My brain just isn't really functioning anymore when I get there. But again, really good songs. The problem is the ballad Out of Reach is probably my least favorite Dream Theater song. The lyrics come across as trying a little bit too hard, I think. And honestly, by the time Pale Blue Dot kicks in, I'm just kind of tired of the whole thing. So, I don't know what it is about this album. It might be the production, actually, because I remember not really caring for much of anything except for the bass sound. I think the bass sound on Distance Over Time is actually really good. But the drums seem a little bit overcompressed. The vocals don't sound quite right. So I think it strains my ears to listen to it. But it's okay. It's probably a little bit better than Octavarium, all told, but it's not as good as these. All right, last one. This is the one that everybody's probably watching for. A View from the Top of the World just came out 9 months ago or so. And when The Alien came out, I thought, oh no, I think my favorite band is back. Because after Distance Over Time, I liked the singles for Distance Over Time, but they didn't leave me sitting around, like, anticipating the album, right? Like, the songs weren't that good. But when they released The Alien, I liked it a lot. I thought, oh man, I can't wait for this album to come out. I think I listened to the song and then I immediately bought tickets for the tour to go see them after the album came out, because that song excited me so much. And then Invisible Monster came out and I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know about this one quite so much. But fortunately, when it came out, Invisible Monster was the weakest song, but The Alien was the second weakest song. Oh man, that is awesome. Because The Alien was a really cool song. I love it. I learned how to play it on guitar pretty recently. It's really cool. But man, Answering the Call might be my favorite Dream Theater song to come out since, I don't know, like anything on 6 Degrees probably. I freaking love Answering the Call. It's so good. And then Sleeping Giant is a great 10-minute Dream Theater song. Transcending Time is a really cool Rush ripoff. Dream Theater does a lot of Rush ripoffs, and I think Transcending Time is probably one of their best. And Awaken the Master is using an 8-string guitar, which sounds really cool. It's hard. We don't hear a lot of 8-string or, 7, 8, or 9-string usage that doesn't just sound like Genty Meshuggah. And I was really happy that Dream Theater did a song with an 8-string that just sounds like a Dream Theater song with an 8-string. There's not a lot of atonal, tritone crap. It's really cool. I love Awaken the Master. It's a great song. And the epic is really good too. It's still got that ambient stuff in the middle of it, like Illumination Theory and Count of Tuscany did, but it's better. It's better-ish. Because at least there's vocals behind it this time. I think the chorus is really cool, and there's a riff that comes in at about the 15-minute mark, I think, that is... I think it's the best riff on the album, honestly. And they wait a really long time for it to kick in. But, man, great record. It's going in the A tier. That's where it's going. I can't put it in S just because these three are just pretty much untouchable. But I don't know if, a couple of years from now, if I'm still listening to this one more than these guys, I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. It has to age a little bit. These albums all aged really well, and these all aged really poorly. So we'll just have to see. Maybe it goes down. I don't know. But yeah, this is where I have it right now. I didn't realize it was going to look so even. I swear I didn't do that on purpose. I just put them where I wanted them to be. But yeah, that's my Dream Theater tier list. Please go ahead and tell me how wrong I am in the comments. I always appreciate that. I like discussing this. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's why I've just talked for 20 minutes about it. Yes, please feel free to criticize me very loudly in the comment section below, and I'll look forward to seeing you for the next one. Hey, thanks for sticking around. If you'd like, you can click right around here to see my latest music video. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter, and even subscribe to me on Patreon for lots more. Thanks. See you around.